The holiday party season is coming. Are you ready? Are you ready for the big holiday parties with family, friends, and coworkers? Now, the answer to my question could be very different depending on if you identify as an introvert or an extrovert. In today's video, we are going to be making a holiday party survival guide for both introverts like me and extroverts. So, no matter where you fall on the introvert extrovert spectrum, you can have an enjoyable time at any holiday party or any party any time of year. I wanted to make this video for you because I'm an introvert, and in the past I've had bad experiences at parties, and I wind up dreading going to them because I didn't know how to handle myself at large parties, and I didn't have any survival tools, and because of that I usually didn't have a great time. I never knew how to regain my energy when I felt like my inner battery was drained, and I found myself really dreading and going to parties, and I would turn down invitations. But I still like to go to parties. What if there had been some solid advice for me that could have helped me survive? I would have loved that. I also know I'm the best person to make a guide for extroverts who end up at a holiday party because I know how to ease my way into conversations with people who are, and this is shocking that I know, more introverted than me. Now, this video is split into two sections. I cover the introvert portion in the first part, and here's a timestamp on the screen and in the box below where I cover the extrovert survival guide. So I do challenge you to watch both sections because knowledge is power here, and knowing the opposite side of the story could help you help someone else that you know who struggles at parties, whether they are introverted or extroverted. And you know, you could share this video with the people that you know who do struggle at parties. If you find this video valuable, then please share it. I would really appreciate it. And if you could also like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a brand new video every Monday, I'd be very grateful for that as well. So thank you. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm a life coach who helps people get unstuck so that they can live their best, most meaningful lives. A life that they are truly passionate about. Okay, so in part one of our survival guide for at parties for we're gonna cover introverts. So, to prepare for introverts, we want to know what kind of party that you're going to be attending so that you can prepare accordingly. As an introvert, if I was attending a small, intimate gathering with a few people that I knew, then I know I would thrive here and I wouldn't need to prepare for it. Excuse me. However, I know I need to be prepared for the typical large corporate company party, which caters to extroverts. And yes, one solution is to not go to the party, but what if my husband wants me to go to his large company holiday party with him? What do I do? We introverts, we all know the party. It's usually held in a large ballroom where there's pre dinner drinks and appetizers, which means small talk and conversing with people you may not know well or at all. And then there's dinner and dessert, which means more small talk and socializing and sitting at a large table with people from the company who you may know, may not know, especially if you don't work for the company and your partner does, like in my situation. And then finally, after dinner, and dessert, there's the after party where the party really gets going. There's the DJ with the loud music and the dancing. It's me dancing. And then people are really ready to start socializing at that point, and the party is in full swing. So if you're an introvert at this kind of a party, things like small talk, loud music, socializing with people you don't know, and large crowds can really feel overwhelming and draining. So here's a solution that I've found works for me. I always bring something with me to do. And when I first arrive at the party, I look for the spaces and places where I know I'll be able to go and can sit quietly and recharge my energy when I feel drained. Before I even leave my house, I bring a notepad and pen or a book with me, along with my phone and my headphones. And that way, if I notice I'm starting to feel uncomfortable or drained, I can go to my corner that I've pre located when I got to the location, which is usually like held in a ballroom. So it's usually, which is usually like, a chair in the lobby of the ballroom that the party's being held at. And then I pull out my notebook and I write or draw or I read a book, or sometimes I'll just pull out my phone, read a news article, or listen to some soothing music, or listen to like a podcast. And I find that if I go to the party prepared to protect my energy, I will feel I'll be less drained. And that's a win for me because I can go to a party and I know that I can get away and find a quiet space to recharge if I need it. And I find this makes it easier to go back into the party once I've regained some of my energy back, so that I can show up and be more present. But I always know that I have that corner that I can go and escape if I need it. I also make sure I'm mindful about when I go to the quiet spot. I don't pull my phone out in the middle of dinner or start scrolling on it. I go to the corner during pre-dinner drinks, and also like when people are mingling, and I'll go usually after dinner when the music starts blaring and people start chatting. And I would do this if I showed up at one of these parties by myself, or if I went to a party with my husband or a friend. And a bonus tip here: if you are at a party with your partner, spouse, or friend, let them know, if you're okay with it, that it's okay for them to respond to the question of, in this case, where's Sarah, with an answer like, my wife is an introvert and she was feeling a little drained and needed to step away for a few minutes from the party to recharge. Now, I used to not like this. My husband did this automatically for me without my permission, and I always used to feel like he was apologizing people for his socially awkward, weird, introverted wife. But in retrospect, he actually wasn't apologizing for me. It turns out that he was doing something I wish he'd actually done for me 17 years ago, like back in 2004, before, when we would go to his extroverted family gatherings, and I struggled greatly trying to fit in, and I also didn't have the awareness to figure out why I didn't fit in at all. I would get blamed and shamed and bullied by his new to me family, both privately and publicly, because I didn't realize that I was introverted. I knew I was very quiet and shy, but I know now that those aren't the same things as being an introvert. And remember, this was back in 2004, before I'd read Susan Cain's book, Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, because it hadn't been published yet. The knowledge in this book changed my life. Knowing that I could identify a piece of who I am and identify my behavior gave me the power to accept myself and allowed me to research and become proactive so that I could show up at more extroverted types of parties in a way that worked for me and served me best. If you're an introvert, what are some tips and tricks that you use to help you recharge at large parties? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, So let's flip the narrative and we're going to focus on the extroverts right now. So, what if you're an extrovert and you find yourself at a quiet, more intimate type of holiday party or any party where people really seem to all know each other? The people are sitting in small, intimate circles, talking quietly with maybe 2 to 3 people in a group, and you feel awkward going up and inserting yourself into their conversation. Or what if you go up and you get some kind of weird look, like, why is this person butting in? And nobody says it, but you can tell by their body language and the expressions on their face that they really don't want to be disturbed by you. So, what do you do when you kind of start to feel bored or drained because you don't have anybody to talk to, or people seem immersed in their conversations and you don't feel like you want to be rude or butt in? So, one tip here is to ease yourself into a conversation that you find interesting. Easing yourself into a conversation is very different than butting into or inserting yourself into a conversation. You can find people to talk to here, but it will take a little work on your part. I want you to make it kind of like a game. Make it a conversation scavenger hunt to keep it fun and interesting. The key to easing yourself into a conversation with people you'd like to talk to is actually listening. So sit or stand nearby these smaller groups of people and actively listen in on their conversation. You can use something like your phone and pretend to be reading an article on it, but actually be listening and actively listening to what the group of people is talking about. And don't feel weird doing this. Remember that you are at a party in a room full of people who are likely introverted. And I find these fellow introverted party goers who are attending a party like this tend to be on the quieter side, and they don't really have a problem or find it weird to see a person hanging out on their own with their phone. Now, what you're searching for in this scavenger hunt is a conversation topic that you both want to talk about and listen to. You need to know that introverted people tend to prefer quality, deep conversations rather than quantity conversations. So things like small talk aren't going to get you far in this kind of a party setting. You won't be bored if you can find a topic you're interested in listening to and talking about. And as you practice listening to the different groups, you'll know within a few minutes if the conversation is a topic that's right for you. If you find a small group talking about, let's say, scuba diving, and you don't know how to swim, then I recommend just moving on to the next group, because you're going to have a harder time easing yourself into a conversation, a deep conversation, if it's a topic that you don't know anything about or you're not interested in. So just move on and keep on moving until you find the right conversation for you. Remember that quality conversation is key here. So when you do find your group that you want to join and you're standing next to them and you're looking on your phone, listen for points where you would feel comfortable easing yourself into their conversation. Your goal here is just to gently drop yourself into an existing conversation in a way that doesn't feel like butting in. And the difference is really key to success with at a party with introverted attendees. Here's an example of how to do this. So listen for a pause or a natural break in the conversation and then just drop a line in. Let's say you find a group that's talking about Paris and you were just there last spring. So when you find a pause in the group's conversation, quietly drop in and say, "I'm sorry, I wasn't eavesdropping, but did I hear you say that you're going to Paris next month? I love Paris and I was just there earlier this spring. May I ask what are some sites that you're going to plan on seeing while you're there? You've done a couple of things here. You've gently placed or eased yourself into the conversation. You've shown an interest in what people are talking about. You've asked an open-minded, open-ended question that will keep the conversation rolling, and you'll urge the group to open up to you, which will allow you to join the existing conversation. And a bonus here is that you've offered yourself as a knowledgeable source on the topic, like going to Paris. And maybe the person talking about their trip will ask you for advice on their upcoming trip. And yes, you totally eavesdropped without meaning to. That's exactly what you're doing here. No one is going to call you out on this though, because it's a great way to ease yourself into a conversation without feeling like a creeper or without just like feeling weird and butting in. Another survival tip is to be prepared for the type of party that you're going to and know if it's built around a common theme, and know that this common theme that the people may share at the party are going to attract maybe quieter, more introverted types of people because it's reflected in the common activity that they share. My husband came up with this great example. So I'm going to share it with you. So picture yourself as an extrovert invited as a guest, or your friend or partner or spouse invited you to a local knitting club's holiday group party. And let's say that you're not a knitter, but the person who invited you really wants you to go and you want to support them, so you say yes. Now, the conversation isn't all going to be centered around knitting. So you might be able to ease yourself into a conversation like in the last example that we talked about, but you may have to choose a different strategy here. So, what do you do if you don't know anything about knitting, but you want to talk to people who are avid knitters? My advice here is to do some research before you go to the party. You could read just a few articles or watch some videos about knitting just to get an idea about the general vocabulary and the general idea of what knitting is, and like the things that you can create when you knit. And keep the research general. You do not have to deep dive necessarily in this case. But here's the key. There's a good chance that you have some kind of life experience that is going to be very relatable to the aspect of knitting or whatever the shared activity that the party goers have. So, what does this look like? Let's say that you are a small business owner or an entrepreneur. You can take you can take your perspective and experience and expertise in your life and apply it to knitting with the brief deep dive that you just did. You got to know knitting in a surface level way, and I guarantee that there will be a person at the party that will say something like this: "Oh my God, I have so many scarves that I've knitted and I don't know what to do with them. They're piling up all over my house." Ding, 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 a problem. What do I do with my excess knitting projects? You could ease yourself into or start a conversation with this person or group of people by offering an open-ended suggestion with your business or entrepreneurial advice. Say something like, "I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but did I hear you mention that you don't know what to do with your extra knitting projects? You know, my sister was having the same problem and she wound up opening an Etsy shop, and the business grew so much that she wound up opening her very own website. And I had such a great time helping her out with the transition. So while knitting may not interest you, here in this case, you could easily apply your knowledge of running a business to the knitting world. When you do your research, you could even look up something like how to successfully run a knitting business if this was the case for you. So we're meeting people in the middle here. You're showing an interest in their activity, and you're using your knowledge and wisdom as a way to enter the conversation based around your activity and theirs. And the last thing to consider in our holiday survival guide for both extroverts and introverts at a holiday party is to acknowledge and explore the following question: what do I do when I'm feeling extremely uncomfortable? You either feel like way too drained by the crowds and like small talk is just making you struggle, and or maybe you're having a hard time finding a way to ease yourself into the conversation. So know that you always have the option to leave the party if and that it's perfectly fine to do so. You have permission to leave the party. Now, if you go to the party solo, then know that you do have the option to leave the party. I think it's important here that to acknowledge that you tried going to the party, you put yourself out there, and you tried something that is difficult for you. So celebrate that as a win for yourself. Trying something that is uncomfortable is not easy, but it helps you grow and learn more about yourself. If you go to the party with a friend, you could drive separately. That way you can leave if you're not having a good time. And if you do go to the party with a spouse, a partner, or a friend, and you drive together to the party, then discuss an exit strategy and agree on it before you get to the party. So set some kind of a benchmark goal you'd like to meet. So if you're at a party and there's dinner involved, make getting through the dinner and past it your benchmark. Then check in with the person you came with and be honest and see how you both feel. If one of you isn't having a good time, then both of you agree to leave. Try to avoid feeling negativity towards the person that you came with if they do want to leave and you really want to stay. Because remember what you agreed to with them before the party and honor that. Celebrate and be grateful for the fact that they came to the party with you and that they gave it their best shot. And acknowledge that things don't always work out and respect their choice if they want to leave. Going to a party can be an intimidating experience no matter where you fall on the introvert or extrovert spectrum. So be prepared for the party you're going to. Take proactive steps based on who you are so you can try and enjoy and be present at the party you're at. And also know your limits. Know that it's okay if it doesn't work out. Celebrate your success that you tried something new instead of feeling like you've let someone down or you've let yourself down. I hope that this holiday party survival guide for introverts and extroverts helps you out as we get ready for the start of the holiday season. And with that, I also want to wish you an amazing holiday season. I hope that you have a great time at your party, and I hope you have fun at whichever type of party you end up at, an introverted one or an extroverted one. If you're feeling stuck in your life or if you're struggling to live your best, most meaningful life, then I would love to help you out. You can schedule a time to meet with me via Zoom. I'll make sure I leave a clickable link to my calendar on my website at sarahdaltoncoaching.com in the description box below the video. I hope you sign up. I would absolutely love to meet with you. Now, if you have any questions for me, then please comment below the video in the comments section, or you can email me at sarah@sarahDaltonCoaching.com and we can keep having the conversation there. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video every Monday. If you enjoyed today's video, then you should definitely check out this video here on how to be present and focused for the moments that truly matter. Bye.